This is Lagos. I'm not just saying this because this is Lagos. I'm saying this because that's what you see as you're coming into Lagos. But what is inside Lagos, particularly for the teeming youths who have now called Lagos their home, where they're doing business, raising a family? What exactly does the Lagos state government have in store for them of what we saw playing out during the election, the aftermath of it? And of course, if you're on social media, you see a lot of debate about Lagos. But let's focus on the big picture this morning as we're joined by the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Social Development in Lagos State, Mr. Mobolaji Ogunlede. He's right here with us in our Lagos studio. Good morning, Mr. Ogunlede. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Coyote. Thanks for having me.
Let me start with the elephant in the room. This is Lagos, clearly, and it's a statement that resonates for a lot of people. But I want you to lay the foundation. Is Lagos, would I say, a safe place, a place to thrive for any and every youth? Wherever you're coming from, whatever ethnicity, creed you believe in, what does Lagos hold for them, particularly from the government? Now, we're not talking social media or handlers. What is the government's perspective to this? Then we'll dovetail into other issues.
So thank you, Coyote, and good morning, everyone, and thanks for having me. I like the way you started it by saying this is Lagos, because this is Lagos. Lagos, center of excellence. Lagos, state of aquatic splendor. Lagos, the financial hub of Africa. When you talk about Nigeria, you talk about Lagos. If you're not talking about Lagos, then you're not in Nigeria. Lagos, very diverse, very dynamic, which is why we continue to have an influx of youths and people generally into Lagos. Lagos is a place to thrive, which is why we keep having people, flocking into Lagos. But from the government's perspective, there's a lot that is being done. We accept and we recognize that there's a lot more that needs to be done. But let me bring it home to the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, where I am the commissioner. Our vision is to be and remain the model youth and social development agency in Nigeria and beyond. And this is it's very loaded. Under the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, as you're aware, our Themes Plus agenda, to start with, the plus, social inclusion, gender equality, and the youth, ultimately leave no one behind. And behind this are is multi-layered. We have a lot of activities going on, we have a lot of programs, we have a lot of initiatives. Most importantly, to bring it back home again, this is the International Youth Week, which is what led to this conversation of me being here. There are a lot of activities we have lined up. There are a lot of activities that are going on. Today is the final day of our week-long International Youth Week. I'll dovetail into that a little bit more. But just so that I stay focused on what you're saying, there are so many things, so many programs which I will reel out, as we move on. But as I'm on this program, when the Ministry of Youth and Social Development, a lot of us focus on the youth. Right, but there's the social development aspect of it that I'd just like to echo a little bit, right? The social development part of the ministry, we have 4 departments: rehabilitation department, social welfare department, child development department, and then the youth department. And again, multidimensional. We deal with adoption, rescuing of destitutes on the streets, rescuing of destitutes of the streets, orphanage homes and orphanages. We have 15 homes and institutions. We have correctional facilities. We have juvenile centers. All of this is encompassed under the social development. We also have an agency called LASODA, Lagos State Office of People Living with Disability, again under the same ministry. By virtue of my position, I also sit as chairman of NYSC. By virtue of my position, I also have a supervisory function for our Lagos State Sports Commission. Right? When we talk about youth, we talk about sports. When you talk about sports, you talk about youth. So I have that supervisory function as well. So when you understand that the ministry is, loaded and it's encompassed, then you start to realize and appreciate, what we do for the youths. Lagos is big, 57 local governments and LCDAs, right? There are so many youths. We have the formal, we have the informal. Again, I'll dovetail into numbers and, programs that we're doing. But again, I'm just trying to capture it all, just to give you a broad view of, of what we have in Lagos, what we are dealing with in Lagos.
So Lagos is safe for all youth to thrive.
Lagos is safe for youth to thrive because the government, again, our Themes Plus agenda, we have recognized the youths as part of our agenda, which is, very loaded for you to have the youth as part of your agenda. So we must create a safe haven for the youth. We must create programs, we must create policies, we must continue to engage, we must continue to do a lot of advocacy, right? So ultimately it is safe, but again, there are many building layers and we must continue to build on the infrastructure that we have. Of course, we also recognize that as a government, we cannot do it alone. So we continue to call for collaboration, to see how we can partner with various private organizations as well. Again, there are also some issues that it's not just about the government, it's about the people. And every single individual, every single citizen must be a part of. So for everybody to be a part of that, then we must create a safe haven, for all of us. So yes, ultimately, Lagos is safe, and we would continue as a government, as an administration, to try and keep it safer.
All right, let's talk about making it even safer. So some elephants in the room. I want to talk about Agbero. The boys that were called tout, and I remember we had the SSG here and she's called them the good boys. That's how the government had decided to look at them, and it's a good thing to perceive them differently. But the reality they give to the average Lagosian is as real as life can be. I don't know whether that is what you're in charge of, or there's an interception between your ministry and maybe transportation. What is your plan as a ministry for youth development for these guys who, at the end of the day, their activities affects the safety of people, affects the prices of food. At the end, if you go to some places around here and drive through, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. Is there a plan to repurpose these young guys so that they don't come to us as maybe nuisance, as we've seen them today, as Agberos, as we've seen them today, to something rather more useful as far as the youth ministry is concerned? Because we've also had actors come here, and one of the challenges they have in shooting movies is they go to places to shoot movies, and without anybody providing any special services, they pay their taxes. Agberos come and disrupt their production.
Okay, thank you very much for that. You call them Agberos, we call them informal youths. Like you said, the SSG was here and she called them the good boys. On Sunday, a new coinage, because I was in church on Sunday as part of our programs to celebrate International Youth Day, and another name was given to them, Jesus Boys, right? They're human beings, they're citizens, they're a product of the society, right? You'll be amazed. Some of them have gone to school. Some of them want to do a lot of things, right? But it's life, and it is what it is. But as a government, what we've recognized this, and what we're trying to do, which is why we've coined them informal youths. We have programs that we're developing for them. We have programs that we're implementing for them. But ultimately, we're engaging them. I run an open door policy. They're in my office every single day. The informal youths, the Agberos, as you call them. Prior to joining
I didn't call them. That is
no. I mean, I beg your pardon. I mean, Agberos that they have
been called
widely known as.
Yeah, which, by the way, wasn't meant to be a bad thing. Agbero was meant to be someone helping you to get passengers into your vehicle.
Exactly. Exactly. Recently, doing one of our engagements, someone was also, the coinage, area boys.
Area boys.
It wasn't necessarily coined as bad boys, or there are area boys in the area. In Fade Yoluru, you have area boys.
Some even attribute it to Fela.
Exactly, which is why I use Fade
expression.
Exactly.
Area boys, they attribute to Fela, but please go ahead.
Exactly. So, it was just a coinage, but of course, we're evolving, we're developing, and things start to metamorphosize. But the informal boys, as we start to call them, you see, ultimately they need to be engaged. I run an open door policy in the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. A lot of them identify as youths, right? The fact that you're engaging them is giving them that sense of renewed hope, which is, the coinage of our president, right? So once there's hope, then there's that chance for you to see how you can thrive in the society. So we engage them continuously. They're also the good and the bad ones. They are the ones that are just not ready to
So in specific, without trying to cut you, what exactly are you doing for them besides opening your doors and speaking to them? I use the word repurpose. So I want to hear strategic plan.
Okay.
That so within this time, there were 20,000 quote unquote area boys, Agbero, Jesus boys, whatever you want to call them. But we've been able to take out some that has exposure to. I just want some numbers.
So yeah, to be specific, what we're doing is we're doing some informal training for them, skill acquisition, where some of them have identified they want to be barbers. We're trying to put them into clusters so that if they're a group of you in a certain demographic, we will come together, train you through some of our other agencies and ministries. For example, the WAPA, our wealth creation. Some of them have shown interest in agripreneurship. Some of them have shown interest in the tech world. So there are several programs that we're putting together, involving them in some of these programs, just so that they feel, so that they are not left behind, which is the mantra of the administration. So all of these are being put in place, but again, all of this is done through engagement, because without engaging them, you don't even really know what it is that they want. Ultimately, in all of our local governments and LCDAs, we have the SSAs to Mr. Governors that have been appointed. We have youth and security. We have youth and mobilization. They are also going out, engaging, the informal youth in all of these local governments. We cannot do it alone. We're also strategically recruiting what we call foot soldiers in all of the local government, just so that they can be an interface between us and the informal boys as well. We're also doing a lot of advocacy on drugs, right? Because this is a pandemic that is eating into our society. We have relaunched what we call Lascada, Lagos State Kicks Against Drug Abuse. We're working with NDLEA, we're working with various foundations just to see how we can continue to engage the informal youth, because this is a vice that they seem to be hooked on. We rehabilitate them. We have rehabilitation homes, right, where we bring them in, rehabilitate them, and then reintegrate them back into the society. But ultimately, through engagement, we're able to find out what their needs and their desires are, and through this, we're able to give them succor as an administration.
I think it was a WTO DG, we talked about that this morning, who was saying that, politicians have found a way to weaponize insecurity to either retain or attain power. And we can easily draw or pull that into different, incidents or at least scenarios across states. Some say the so-called area boys, agberos, or what have you, are there and are still there because politicians see them as tools when it comes to either campaign or elections proper to foment trouble, intimidate people, and we've seen that play out. So I'm really, really concerned about you breaking through that already established institution. It's not in the Constitution, but I tell you, that is an institution that is almost equally powerful. There are three arms of government, but that's perhaps a fourth arm of government. And that's the reality. They're powerful. You find sometimes that police even withdraws when they are on the street. They just step away because they're like, okay, we are executive, but these ones, they are area boys, arm of government. So that is my concern for you, whether you are aware of that institution and you have a strategy and the backing of government yet again. Because it's one thing to have brilliant plans, it's another thing to have the backing of government to be able to go all through. Just before you answer, I recently saw some boys around Berger, boys I see on a daily. Now they have uniforms they are wearing, and that's good. Now they are trying to be formalized. They still collect the tolls, but they have uniform. Very soon they can be repurposed. So speak to that institution and how you plan to break through.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Like you said, it is an institution. Before me, during me, perhaps after me, but it's a gradual process. The journey of the 1,000 miles starts with a step, right? Just like you said, some of them are now wearing uniforms, right? That's because we've, as a government, we realize, we recognize, we understand that we need to see how we can redefine, the guys, as the case may be. So they are wearing uniforms because you're a group of boys, you are in Bega, we know that this is where you are. Yeah, we recognize you're an institution, but it is a recognized institution. So what do we need to do? We need to go there and formalize it. Put rules and regulations in place, put procedures in place, so that they can be held accountable. Once there's accountability, then it's able to ensure that things work out. Right now, this group of guys, like you said, a lot of times they are being used as weapons, especially during elections. But we thank God that we're all seeing, the trajectory of what is happening now. There's a lot of awareness. Even the boys themselves are now, perhaps it was a job, perhaps it was the only thing that they knew. But with the digital era that we're in, there's a lot of awareness. There's a lot of openness. So what we would tend to see, or what we hope to see moving forward, is the fact that they realize that they count. What they say and what they do matters in terms of elections. And I think right now there's a lot of there's a lot of hardship in the country, right? And everybody is coming to realize that we're a function of the people we put in power, right? So gradually we will start to see where the boys themselves will no longer be used. You see skits in recent times where the skits are being turned around, where people are asking the politicians, for example, where are your kids? Prior to now, you never hear that. Where are your kids? Your kids are not here on the campaign grounds with you. The boys are the ones spoiling this at the end of the day. So we're going to start seeing changes gradually, where eventually it's not going to be eradicated, but the boys would then be, repurposed and re-engineered back into the system. It's not a walk in the park at the end of the day. But again, advocacy and engagement is what we all need to do as citizens, as a people. It's not for the government alone, because when there's an issue, it's not just about the government, right? When there was the issue in 2020 where buildings were burnt and properties were destroyed, it wasn't about the politicians or the government or the institutions. It affected every single one of us. So it's an issue that every citizen must be involved in. And how you involved? By engaging, by having those conversations you don't want to have. Tunde Onokoya, for example, we are working with Tunde Onokoya as a government, where again his purpose is these kids that you talk about, or the youth you talk about in Bega, for example, where we go in as partners. I mean, because when you have the government backing, right, it just gives you another level of ability to engage, right? So we're about to launch our pilot program in Lagos Island, where we will go in with him as a government and then run a pilot. We've gotten approval from Mr. Governor, run a pilot, and then we'll see how we can replicate this across, all of our local governments and LCDs, as the case may be. So again, engagement, bringing them out of their current status, giving them hope, to be reintegrated
and
back
let the youths, let them see role models. Let the role models be close to them so they can say, oh, wait a minute, I can be better than who I am. If this person can be, so I would love to see an army of role models pushing them across, LCDA, so we can make this change.
So just very quickly, as part of our International Youth Week, on Saturday to be precise, we launched a Youth Technical Working Group Committee, right? These are 27 youths doing very well, various cadres, various aspects of Lagos, non-politicians, right? Different industries, because we realized that as a government we cannot do it alone. We brought them together, we inaugurated that committee, and the idea behind it is every single youth from different areas of the world come together. Let's sit on a table. Let's see how we can come up with policies, come up with initiatives to help, the youth, the formal, the informal, the youth in the creative economy, the youth in the gig economy, because you quickly realize things are changing very quickly. The Gen Zs, the Generation X, and as the case may be. So as a government, we need to quickly adapt, to all of these changes. And a big elephant in the room has always been the fact that the government has always been disconnected from the people, which is why I met you, Coyote, right? I met you at an event, the Kuka Event Foundation, random event. But again, as the Commissioner for Youth, I ensure that I'm entrenched into all youth activities. There's no event that is too small for me to attend. On Saturday, on Sunday I was in Shogunle. On Sunday I was in Oshodi. This week I'm going to be in VI. The other day I was in Ikoyi. So different areas in Lagos, irrespective of background, culture, I need to be close to the youth. Of course, I cannot do this alone, which is why we're recruiting, a lot of foot soldiers, which is why we set up this technical working group committee, just so that we can reach the nooks and crannies of Lagos.
All right, you know, the reason why we had to talk about the good boys, so let me sound like the government now. Let's talk about the good boys, because if we get out of the way, by that I mean if we repurpose them, because we're using the word we now because government is everything, so your government is in charge of this. It's going to help you achieve whatever it is you have in the books easily. So let's break it down. This is Commissioner for Youths and Social Welfare, Social Development, and that's Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, still high up there, all of that. Now we have LCDAs and local government, we're talking autonomy. How much effort are you putting in as a commissioner to ensure that this trickles down to all of these LCDAs and local government, because that is where you really achieve success?
Okay.
Now they have some money that is coming in directly to them. At least by October, that should start.
Okay, so I like your question, but I'm going to be very frank, right? It is the responsibility of every single person that is appointed into the office to do his or her job. If everybody, is able to do his or her job, then we will not have these issues. We will not have a lot of issues, right? So it is also the job and responsibility of citizens to ensure that they get the right set of people in office, right? People that are accessible, people that actually know why they're in the office. If we do this and we all do it properly, so it's a collective effort. So if we do this and we do it properly, we would eradicate 80% of the problems we have, in Nigeria. Is it hunger? Is it, our roads? Is it, the boys that, we're speaking about? So, but as a commissioner, in my own capacity, because I cannot do it all. I'm not even trying to do it all. I'm only trying to do what I can and a little bit more. Within the short period that I have. I mean, if you look at it today, approximately, I have about 1,005 days left in office. So every single day counts, right? Every single day counts for me to be out there, to ensure I engage, to ensure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, to play my own role and, give back my own quota, right? So as a commissioner, what I can continue to do is ensure, we reach all of the people we can reach, all of the youths we can reach. Again, the youths are 60% of the population in Lagos. If we're talking about 30 million people in Lagos and we're saying 60%, we're talking plus or minus 18, 19 million. Yeah. It's a huge population, and we're not all on the same page, right? One of the things we try to do is in each of the local governments, we're trying to get a database, right? Because as a government, to effectively affect the people and the youths, you need a database, right? So we've gone into all of the local governments with our LASRA, which is one of our agencies, to get the database of our youth, just so that we know what they need. We know how to attend to them, how to cater to them, right? So as commissioner, these are some of the things, I'm trying to do, within my short time, to see how we can effectively, give hope, to our youths. And again, all hands have to be on deck, and this is, outside, being a commissioner and whatnot, and all hands have to be on deck because it is our community, it is our Lagos. When there's an issue or quote and unquote a protest to come, we all focus on the youths, right? That's not the only time we should focus on the youth. We should focus on them throughout, because we are the leaders of tomorrow, starting today. And if we all believe in this, then every single one must participate in that engagement and in that advocacy, so that we can foster a good communal for us all.
I like the fact that you are counting down.
Yeah, I like that.
The average politician is planning for the next.
I mean, you have to be realistic as well.
Absolutely. And I think your experience prior to this will maybe play a role in, or has been playing a role in what you're doing. I know a lot of people will be interested. Wow, okay, where was he before? How did they, essentially, how did they pick him and bring him into government? And I think it points to the point I'm going to next, how people can engage government. There are a lot of people who think the government is dirty. I don't want to get hands in politics, and then by extension governance. But what you then do is allow other people take charge who may not necessarily be qualified. Because if everybody who is qualified, or at least good enough, if they stay back, life harbors a vacuum. So people will get in there one way or the other. So what are the engagement methods? And you talked about the data. So what are the things you look forward to after 1,005 days
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus, or maybe times 2 or time, depending on what happens. What are those things you expect to have achieved? And I want it empirical. What data are you looking at in terms of maybe youth unemployment? You've given us 18 million youths. Wait to see the census anyway, but we can work with 18 million for now. So what's data in terms of unemployment, in terms of social development, the indices you look at? And I know there's the LSETF, the partnership and all that, but give us something to look up to. So we can always say, Commissioner, 200 days to go, you gave us this figure, how close are you to achieving it?
All right. So essentially, you want me to throw myself under the bus?
No. I want you to do what you're doing and do it for people to see.
Right. But to take it up from where you started, I'm a proud product of Oando PLC. That's where I'm coming from. I was in Oando for about 13 years before joining the government. If you look at most successful oil companies today in Nigeria, 70 or 80% of them were products of Oando, right? So I'm a product of Oando because there's a way Oando breeds you. You believe you can walk in the air, right? And you have this can-do attitude, you have this go-get-it attitude, so that is what is driving me. That's part of the quality that I have. So transforming into the public sector, I have this can-do attitude. Prior to joining the government, of course, I had my ideas of the government, but crossing over on the level at which I crossed over, which is a very comfortable level, I have quickly realized that it's not a walk in the park. It's not a bed of roses, and it's not as easy as we tend to think it is on the other side.
It's different from corporate world.
Completely different, right? However, I would not discourage, professionals from joining, because we need professionals, right, who are also political, to join, the government, because we need to steer this ship in a certain way, in a certain direction, right? We cannot continue to sit on the fence and continue to complain without playing a role in it. How did I get into government, which is the second thing you spoke about? I challenged status quo. I went back to my community after a long time into my local government, which is in Badagry, and I started, participating, on the grassroots level. So I went through the steps. This is not the time to elaborate in it, but I believe there's a certain way and manner you need to insert yourself into the system to be part of governance, right? And which will then trickle into politics, right? But we'll go into that another day. So I went back to my local government in Badagry. I involved myself in the wards, and then I gained my recognition. I challenged status quo by contesting. Right, I contested for the Federal House of Representatives. I did not get the ticket, but it gave me the platform and the ability to showcase my capacity, my tenacity, and my can-do spirit. And that is where Mr. Governor discovered me. Right, so I didn't have a political father or any of those things, but I was able to. I was given that platform to show my capacity. Mr. Governor saw me, and we started engaging, and that is what has transformed. Giving me the opportunity to serve the good people of Lagos. So, another conversation, but again, is to say, there are certain ways you can do it. But then bringing it back to your final question or statement to say, what do I hope to see at the end of my 1,005 plus or minus days, or times 2, as you put it? Well, I hope to see a situation where we have good data to be able to capture, most importantly, the number of youths in Lagos. When we kickstarted this exercise a couple of months ago, we started with a huge number, but then it started trickling down because, again, there are so many issues, right? A lot of youths, again, are just starting to believe in the government because they are seeing people like me engaging. There are seeing people like, some of my colleagues who are also young, in the system. And, we're starting to engage. So they're starting to believe in the system. I'll digress a little bit just to hit the nail on the head. We are having a business amplifier clinic as part of our International Youth Week, right? When we rolled out, about 350 people enrolled, right? And we've gone through a series of reductions, and we have 8 final winners that would be given grants today. And in engaging them, a lot of them did not even believe in it. But seeing what we've been doing, seeing the transparency, seeing the accountability and the professionalism, they're starting to, believe in it, and this is what we hope to see across CADA. Now, back to what I'm saying about data, right? I want to see a situation whereby the youth will believe that the data we're capturing is actually being used for the goodness of the youths, right? So I want to see a situation where we capture all of the youths in Lagos, and with this data we can do so many things. By the time we crunch it, the number of people that are unemployed, the number of people that are employed, the number of youths that have progressed, the number of youths that want to be that want to get digital training, the number of youths that want to get skill acquisition. So with data, we're able to do everything, which is why we're doing this in all local governments, and with the intention and hope that we'll capture as many as possible. Again, we will not capture every single person, but you see, for those that we would successfully capture, we hope to use those numbers to be able to generate a different generation where others that were not captured will then be able to ride on it, believing in the fact that as an administration, we have delivered the youths.
Clearly, you can articulate your thought. I must give that to you. Perhaps is why you're the commissioner for youth on this particular one. But let me give you an assignment ahead of 2027. I had a conversation with the governor when he did his media parley, and one of the questions I raised to him was the issue of what happened in the 2023 elections. And I remember him saying to us, we cannot be defined by those moments. And he made some assertions as to what played out and what could be done. So 2027 is coming. You are a politician, you're from the corporate world. So I know you can envisage what is coming. What is your plan to truly help government because you're the commissioner for youth, that's why I'm asking you this question, to truly make this state hold the status of a metropolis, not being defined? Because when election comes, we now see all those divisions, bigotry. Some people in government, even at the federal level, say some things that are distasteful, that are regrettable, and we see those things may likely happen again, given what we're seeing. What is your plan to ensure that this is played down as much as possible in reality? Because there are people that should be in jail. They are still working free for what they did in that last election. Another election will come in 3 years. It looks like far away, but I'm asking you because you're counting your days. So in counting your days, what will you do differently?
I'm doing a lot differently. And I'll give you a classic example. When we thought there was going to be a protest stroke unrest in Lagos, what I did was we came together as youths under an umbrella called Lagos State Indigenous Group, right? Irrespective of your background, irrespective of your culture, irrespective of whether you were born in Lagos, as long as you had that association and affiliation in Lagos, we are about 218 that gathered by the three wise men, right? Yeah. We came there as Lagosians, united to ensure that we protect our Lagos, our heritage, right? And that was intentional. And we did that because we realized that when we come together as a people, there's a lot we can achieve. So we came together united, right? So that's fostering unity.
Are you the ones that protested against the protests?
Well, we didn't protest against the protesters because there's a right to protest, but there's a process to it as well. But what we did is we came together and said, look, our Lagos is working for us, right? I did not come out as a commissioner of youth. I came out as Mobolaji Ogulende. Our Lagos is working, and as a youth in Lagos State, I'm protecting my Lagos State. And there were 218 of us representing various youth organizations, right? There were people in Lagos that are Igbos, in Lagos that are Hausas, but we came together under umbrella to say, no, we don't want any destruction, we don't want any issues. So we came together as that, right? And that is just a classic example to answer your question, to say fostering unity and having conversations that we are one, right, is one thing. Secondly, where I met Kayode was a similar event, right? So this is going to say that I am intentional about some of the places that I go to. It was about social cohesion, right? Fostering peace and unity. It was intentional that I went there. And I went there again to advocate, to let the youths know. There was a gentleman there that was from the opposition party, he spoke as an opposition, but my response when I was given an opportunity to address the crowd is to say, look, when it comes to governance, it's no longer about APC, about PDP, about Labour, which is what this administration is trying to do. When we're talking about all of the youths on the road, I have not said anything about, oh, you voted for us or you did not vote for us. No, governance is about the people, right? So we must continue to advocate and push this, you know, as an administration and as individuals, because at the end of the day, right, we've seen where people crisscross into other parties and all of that. But when it comes to governance, and you're on the in the other party,
still the same government for everybody.
Exactly.
I know, Honorable Commissioner, if we left you, we can sit down and have this conversation.
I'm sure his note is full.
I know, and I can see that. I think it's quite interesting, this conversation we've had, and we as media will continue to foster such conversations to ensure that we have the very best of governance. We'll have to thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have to make your days count and your hours count, so we know you have a full day ahead. Well, we've been speaking with the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Social Development, Lagos State, Bolaji Ogunlende. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gaudi. Thank you, Ken.
Well, always engage government. Don't stop. We'll take a moment now. When we return, this age limit that has been put up for admission into tertiary institutions, what does it mean, particularly for the prodigies and the future of our nation? That's in a moment. Stay with us.